It is believed to be the largest U.S. expulsion of Russian diplomats ever. The U.S. ordered 60 out of the country today, retaliation for Moscow's poisoning of an ex-Russian spy in Britain. Much of the West followed the U.S. lead. In all, at least 21 countries have thrown out more than 135 Russians now.
48 intelligence officers based at the Russian embassy in Washington have been ordered by the Trump administration to leave the U.S. within 1 week, along with another 12 Russians based at the United Nations in New York. It's part of a coordinated action with more than 20 U.S. allies to send more than 130 Russians home. The purpose is to punish Russia for its alleged use of a chemical agent in a near-fatal attack on an ex-Russian spy and his daughter in the United Kingdom. The administration also said the Russian consulate in Seattle will be closed within a week due to its proximity to one of our submarine bases and Boeing.
The UK government concluded that it was highly likely that Russia was responsible for this reckless and despicable act, and there were only two plausible explanations. Either this was a direct act by the Russian state against our country, or conceivably the Russian government could have lost control of a military-grade nerve agent and allowed it to get into the hands of others. Mr. Speaker, it was right to offer Russia the opportunity to provide an explanation, but their response has demonstrated complete disdain for the gravity of these events. They have provided no credible explanation that could suggest they lost control of their nerve agent. No explanation as to how this agent came to be used in the United Kingdom. No explanation as to why Russia has an undeclared chemical weapons programme in contravention of international law. Let me start with the immediate actions. Mr. Speaker, the House will recall that following the murder of Mr. Litvinenko, the UK expelled 4 diplomats. Under the Vienna Convention, the United Kingdom will now expel 23 Russian diplomats who have been identified as undeclared intelligence officers. They have just 1 week to leave. This will be the single biggest expulsion for over 30 years, and it reflects the fact that this is not the first time that the Russian state has acted against our country.
Canada joining a major international response today to the nerve agent attack on a former Russian spy on UK soil by kicking out Russian diplomats.
The attack in Salisbury using nerve agents was absolutely horrendous and despicable. And Canada made its opinion known immediately in a very vigorous way, standing in solidarity with the United Kingdom.
Canada's expelling 4 members of Russia's diplomatic staff. In a statement, Minister of Foreign Affairs Chrystia Freeland says they've been identified as intelligence officers or individuals who've used their diplomatic status to undermine Canada's security or interfere in our democracy. Canada also denying applications from 3 other Russians.
Dozens of Russian diplomats have been expelled from consulates and embassies around the world following the poisoning of the former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in Salisbury. Donald Trump has ordered the expulsion of 60 Russians from the United States and the closure of the Russian consulate in Seattle. Germany and France have both expelled 4 diplomats from their embassies after leaders of both countries strongly condemned the attack. In total, 14 countries have dismissed Russian diplomats. The UK has blamed Moscow for the attack and has already expelled 23 Russian diplomats from London.
Last week, the European Union sided with Britain in blaming Russia for the poisoning of a former Russian spy, Sergei Skripal. Now, European Council President Donald Tusk says 14 EU states are asking Russian diplomats to leave.
14 member states have decided to expel Russian diplomats. Additional measures, including further expulsions within the common EU framework, are not to be excluded in the coming days and weeks.
Witam Państwa, dzień dobry Państwu. Poprosiliśmy Państwa, aby poinformować, że dzisiaj Polska podjęła decyzję o uznaniu persona non grata 4 dyplomatów Federacji Rosyjskiej w Rzeczpospolitej Polskiej.
In terms of the expulsion of the 2 undeclared Russian agents, the Prime Minister briefed me this morning, and I've also spoken to our security agencies. I am very supportive of this measure. There is no doubt that the actions that the Russians have taken in England has caused international outrage, and that Australia, along with many of its allies, is taking commensurate responses to it. It's also the fact that these are undeclared agents, and so therefore it isn't appropriate that they be in Australia. So I'm very supportive of the actions today.